No, you're measuring the angular distance between a star and a point on the horizon.
A point on the
That's it.
horizon?
All right,
So-
are you going to do it? Or are
Sorry,
you
the
just
point
gonna
on the
sit down and
horizon?
try and play
Sorry,
word
Bob,
games?
stop. I've got about 10
right,
quotes
well-
of you saying the horizon's not needed on QE's channel. It was trimmed out by YouTube also. Shout out to you.
So you don't need a horizon with a sextant, no.
Go ahead.
Saying the horizon.
Go ahead
There's
and
he
solve
chanting
it
through me.
or
Why
move
is he chanting through me? I don't get it. What's wrong?
You don't need
And-
a horizon for a sextant.
Why is he chanting through me? I'm clarifying that you specifically on this show told us you don't need the horizon. What's going on?
So you don't need a horizon with a sextant, no.
You unlock this door with the key of
retardation.
Beyond it is another dimension. You're moving into a land of
bullshittery.
You've just crossed over into
the numpty zone.
You are so dumb. Damn.
No, you're measuring the angular distance between a star and a point on the horizon.
A point on the
That's it.
horizon?
All right,
So-
are you going to do it? or are
Sorry,
you
the
just
point
gonna
on the
sit down and
horizon?
try and play
Sorry,
word
Bob,
games?
stop. I've got about 10
right,
quotes
well-
of you saying the horizon's not needed on QE's channel. It was trimmed out by YouTube also. Shout out to you.
So you don't need a horizon with a sextant, no.
Don't need. You sound
I do this.
a little bit quivery in your voice there, Bob. You don't need the horizon.
Of course not.
No, you're measuring the angular distance between a star and a point on the horizon.
So you don't need a horizon with a sextant, no.
Hey, I've got a sextant challenge for you in the timeout chat. It'll prove that celestial navigation, which is based on spherical trigonometry, works. Nope, got to have a triangle for that. No, there's no triangle. No, there's no triangle. But you're more than welcome to use flat earth trig to do it. No, there's no triangle. No, there's no triangle.
That we will require spherical trig to do this. Will we or won't we?
Absolutely.
Well, okay, how are we going to do that without triangles, Bob? Do you want to define what trig is? The two different trigs. If we're not going to need triangles, can you define what that means?
Busted! Numpty dipshit! You're a retard! Unbelievable, folks.
Seriously, Bob, you've laid out a challenge, but when we come to clarify how it will prove for sphere Earth, you said we could either use flat Earth trig or we could use spherical trig. But then you've gone on to deny triangles.
No, there's no triangle. No, there's no triangle.
Got a question there, Bobberoony. If there's no triangle, bum sniffer, then why do we need to use trigonometry, which is the study of triangles?
I don't get the... I seriously don't get the mentality that would do this. It's humiliating for you.
Turn out the lights.
Double speaking, pretender clown space monkey.
The party's over. They say that all good things must end.
Ballers scattered on dawn's highway bleeding. Fallacies and refravity crowd their fragile eggshell minds.
So what's trig? For the audience's benefit, this dumbfounded silence is what you get when you become a fundamentalist religious zealot chanting about measuring angles on a curved surface. You start denying that you're doing triangulation, or that you even need triangles, or that there's even adjacent that you need at all. That's what you get to. Do you realise how stupid you sound?
Oh, well, everybody's heard about the bird. The bird's a winner.
You're a clown. And we're off. As usual, if you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. Get a whole boatload of people in Discord. And we also have the beautiful Betty Van Velsen. Betty, are you there, ma'am?
Wow, never heard you call me ma'am.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, amazing.
So you're there?
I'm here, but I won't be here long, people. I have some stuff to do after, so maybe I'm a little under an hour, but you guys got this, I think.
Who's going to take your spot?
Adam, he volunteered last time.
Is Adam here?
Yes.
I'm good for super chats.
You good for showing some leg?
Probably a little bit skinnier than Betty's, to be fair, and hairier. If that's what's required to get the role, God damn it, I'll sink to any level.
And I don't know about that Harrier. I remember when I lived in Europa over there back in the day, that some women kind of didn't take too well. They didn't have a great affinity for razors.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that was in the 80s, for crying out loud.
Has it changed?
Yeah, of course it has changed. But by the way, I don't need to shave anyways.
Oh, we're going to have to delve into this topic.
Right. Because I was myself very much like amazed at some women having hair. I remember one time at work that was a woman, she had panties on. And then I'm thinking, I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, what's happening underneath there? And she saw me looking at it and she said, yeah, sorry, I forgot to shave, so I sort of wore panties today. So, and I said, okay. And I'm thinking, I never have ever had seen that with a woman. So.
Oh, goodness gracious. This is wide open for queries.
You say panties or pantyhose?
Yeah, I don't know how you guys call it. We call them panties. The whole way to the tip toes till bottom.
Oh, you
Pantyhose.
say, oh, she meant pantyhose. Because I was going to say that you said that she had panties on. Hold on.
Yeah. We are not naked at work.
And that you were looking at it. And I go, oh, my goodness gracious.
Ankles, calves, that situation.
Okay, pantyhose. Got it. I was just shocked. I was saying, oh, God, what am I going to say now?
I was going to say, was she on Kufu?
Because
you can see that the whole language thing is really your thing.
Yeah, because I couldn't just let it go, Betty. You understand that?
Yeah, because you didn't want to confuse the audience.
Exactly. I had to say something, but I just didn't know what I was going to say. And then you went rambling on just for a little bit further. And I said, I got to come up with something quick. That's not X-rated. But
yep.
Neil said,
I think Neil saved the day.
Neil saved the day. Exactly. Neil saved the day. Yeah, way to go, Neil.
Yeah. So you guys call that pantyhose?
Don't mention it.
Boy, he's loud. Go ahead, Betty.
Pantyhose. Hose. You have to be
not pantyhose, Betty. Pantyhose.
Yeah,
like you hose down somebody.
Language, you guys. I mean, the English is so nearly stupid sometimes.
It's really stupid, our English.
Yes.
Wait a second. We got
a little bit different. Then it's totally different meaning.
We're going to get right back to this because I think it's an important topic because you really didn't answer my question about the 80s. But we have Nathan Oakley in here. I don't think that he wants me to call on him. I think he's testing his equipment. Would that be the case, Nathan?
I take that as a yes. Betty, not stupid. You're not grasping that. It's pantyhose as in hosiery, not hose as in garden hose.
Yeah.
Did you say hosiery?
Hosiery, yeah, H-O-I, isn't it? S.
Is that a word?
Yes.
Yeah, as in hosiery, yeah.
Huh? Okay, what does it mean then? Is that also with a garden hose?
It's kind of stitching, knitting, isn't it? Hosiery. Fabrics.
How can you stitch a garden hose?
No,
he's
garden hose is HOSE.
Yeah, HOSE, yes. Hose.
You got me looking up hosiery.
Adam spelled it right.
I know.
Is there an H there though?
Okay, here it is. Definition.
Yeah.
Are we gonna take wikis, or you want me to go somewhere else?
For simple, maybe very,
Unless it claims it's a ball, I'm happy to go with wiki.
maybe rudimentary words. We can do that.
Okay, hosiery, also referred to as leg wear, describes garments worn directly on the legs and on the feet and legs. How about that?
Directly on, so no space between it.
Directly on. Hosiery, also referred to as leg wear, describes garments worn directly on. So I guess you're right. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize that. On the feet and legs. Yeah, they're directly on them.
So okay, so you can't call a hose like pants. Pants are not hoses.
What?
They do have them like that though, Betty. The ones that pull up and cover everything. Feet, legs, all the way up to the waist.
Well, they
I
call
don't know
it
what that's called.
skinny legs, right? Or
Whew.
leggings. Leggings might be hoses.
Tights. They're called.
This is a very interesting topic. We need to go on for this for now.
Yeah, because you're getting confused between hoses, garden hoses, and hosiery.
I mean, there's a lot of difference there, but you guys don't have that in your language.
Yeah, hosiery is part of our language. I just think it's in wiki.
Yeah, I understand, but it is so close together that you wouldn't think that hosiery has to be something totally different than a hose.
Yeah, but it just sounds that way. They're spelled differently.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
no.
Betty said panty hose, like in the hood when you say that broad's a hoe. She said panty hose.
Yes, that too.
Oh, brother, this is...
It's a cluster screw, right, with your language.
No, you're just making it out to be. You're painting it red and saying...
Say, let me write this down for you so that you understand what I'm saying.
You're painting it red and saying it's red.
Yes, but no.
Yes, no. Which one?
No. First of all, I'm not painting anything, and second of all, you guys have the same sounds for different meanings.
Yes, that's true. There's a word for that. It escapes me right now.
Yeah, dumbass.
Hey, not that. Jesus, look at...
Dumbass language.
So, words that sound the same. Are they homophones? Words that sound the same but are spelled different.
Who knows that they're spelled different? If you were like someone that didn't even know the language. Or
Did somebody say homonyms?
Yes.
They're homophones. Homophones are words that sound the same but are spelt differently. There you go. See, I was right even before. See, it came back to me.
Yeah, but
Isn't it homonyms? I don't know. Yeah, homonyms. Yeah.
How many people go around writing words down to show you that the word is different? Crying out loud.
People do that a lot when they text. It drives me
Well,
crazy.
because you guys otherwise don't understand each other.
No, see, this is the nuance in English that maybe a lot of Europeans, we take these words, but because they're using a completely different context, you could probably safely assume that you've not pulled on the garden hose onto your legs.
Yeah, Betty.
Well, we got into an intermingling of those words, didn't we?
Well,
You
because...
stop here, I'll bottle it. I've only got up the strength to challenge her. He's tried to get me to rebel tonight. Hey. I'm not allowed to agree with you.
Can somebody
Why do I always agree with you?
No, you forced this, Betty. This is a forced conjunction.
I want Adam's text just now translated. I didn't understand what he said.
He said he has to agree with me.
Yeah.
He has to agree with you. Since when?
Since earlier today.
Huh. I guess he's eager to do the super chat at the end of the show.
I declined the offer. Hey,
So let's get back to the.
genuinely out of fear.
I want to get back to the point because we just brushed past it, and it was the initial point. That just humor me because, like I said, I was there in the '80s, and there wasn't a great affinity for razors. Now you said that's changed in Europa.
Yeah, so be specific on how the razors, where you would like them to see used.
No, just on legs. I'm just referring to legs.
And armpits, maybe.
I was gonna say that, but I want to keep. Yeah. Yes. Go ahead.
Count the Germans in for their armpits, isn't it?
Because I think legs is something when people wear skirts more and dresses more, and they got like shorter. I think that absolutely people would shave their legs if it needed to be done.
So that I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish up.
So I think that in the 80s also took place, but the armpits. I remember my mom telling me that she saw more people in her day and age not shaving it there. So I think the armpit thing came a little later, that everybody sort of scared each other into using a razor under their armpits.
I was thinking that what Adam said, that was sort of a German thing. Is that what you were saying, Adam?
Definitely continental. Yeah.
Continental.
It's more Germans than.
Now
Italians didn't do it, but I don't know. If I was going to be prejudicial, I'd say Germans. I'll ask Marie. Wait there.
Adam, you mumbling again?
I just asked my wife. So I said, Marie, which European country is the worst? She lived there. She laughed and said Germans.
So that's where I spent the majority of my time. So that you're saying it's a German phenomenon then? Yep.
Yeah. Marie says they're making a comeback. Hairy armpits on women.
True.
Just in general across Europe.
Ah, that's gross.
What's
You're
wrong
not doing
with
it, are you?
the hair? You need the arms. Come on, you guys have a few.
I'd support you in that choice, obviously.
I didn't hear what she said. What all did she say, and what are you agreeing with? Go ahead, Adam.
She said apparently they're making a comeback. It's very fashionable. And I says, you're not doing it, are you? She said, I could. And if I, before she had a chance, I'd said, support you in that choice, if you did. Separate bedrooms time, though, isn't it?
Oh, brother.
It's something, I don't know how that's employed, but I remember my mum having hairy armpits as well as a kid. It was not, like now, it's just not normal. It just doesn't look right.
So back then it was no big deal. That was just a cultural type of thing.
I wouldn't say it wasn't a big deal. It was still a bit weird because he was still getting that programming that ladies shouldn't have natural hair in that natural place, sort of a natural purpose.
A lot of
How that grows, right? That's the fact that if you don't see it ever, then it's not there or ever has been there. That's wrong. That's a wrong assumption. Because women shaved it all the time doesn't mean that it wasn't natural to have it there.
You just never know where this is going to go.
No. Exactly.
How'd this start anyway?
You in the 80s.
Yeah, but something had to trigger it.
Betty alluding to looking at people's pubic hair in.
Oh, that's right. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and before that then? Because I didn't come by that story just out of the blue, didn't I?
So we're just going to go back in the conversation and we're going to genetic fallacy all the way back?
Yeah, we're going to back engineer this conversation.
Yeah. This is very interesting. Notice no one's spoken up in Discord about this topic too much except Neil.
They're all too scared.
I'm never going to be able to focus.
See how easy that is.
Yes, it is. It's interesting. It's one of those interesting things that
It's cultural and it's also movies and that sort of thing. But also, don't forget the whole sort of I want to be the same as people at school drive. You know, the peer review.
peer review. That's a good one, Betty. I seen what you
Yeah,
did
I
there.
think it's more line, right? The peer review.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so we can move on from hairy legs and armpits.
Yep.
Yep. What do we want to talk about?
Maybe feathers.
Dots or feathers?
Feathers of the black swan.
Oh, the black swan. Do we want to talk about that? You want to get
It was a riddle. You didn't get it.
I didn't.
Nope. Unbelievable.
Well, I did sleep in today. This show happened really quick today for me because I just wasn't tired late last night, and I slept in really late. So I'm not at the top of my game right now.
So, was something else on top of the game? You were preparing chicken wings yourself?
I did prepare some chicken wings. I'm sure everyone is, just chomping at the bit, waiting to hear how that turned out. Yes, I did. I did make chicken wings. I wanted to replicate the ones I get fried, so I baked them. I did mostly everything. So I had the recipe, and what had happened was they're pretty good. My son said he really enjoyed them, but for me, the usual chicken wings were an A, and mine were a B. And I'm thinking the reason was that I put a little bit too much garlic and smoked paprika in them. So the next time I make them, I'll cut those two ingredients in half and try it again.
Did I hear your favorite ones are fried, so you baked yours?
I did. I wanted to somehow replace them because they're really expensive to buy them on the economy. And I figured I could save a few bucks here and there if I just made them. And so I tried to do it.
So you put them on the grill, right?
I did not. I put them on a grill. I put them on a raised plate. You know, the raised grill, and put them in the oven. I baked them for 13 minutes on one side at 375 in a convection, and then flipped them over, hit them for 425 for 20 minutes, took them out, flipped them over, hit them again for 20 minutes, and then my smoke alarm went off. You weren't ready for that one, did you?
No.
So there's me. I put it on for 20 minutes, and I walked away, and my wife's in the living room near the kitchen, and all I hear is beep, 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 beep. And I'm oh no. Number one, the cat's out of Dodge. Number two, what the heck is burning? So I go out there. Well, at least my fire alarms work. But you couldn't see any smoke really. You couldn't smell it all that close, but it's pretty sensitive. So I had to stand there with a towel, 12 minutes left on them, and wave it in front of the smoke detector.
So you wanted them nice and crisp. So also the black color, did you like that?
I didn't want them too black, but I did want them crisp. Yes.
Yeah, you got them crispy, you know.
Yeah, you weren't ready for the smoke alarm, right?
No. Nope. Is it close to your kitchen?
Yes, it's merely.
Why did I do that? That's
Again?
amazing to me. Why do they always put these smoke detectors near where you're like freaking cooking?
Yeah, I can understand it. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but that's most likely the place where a fire's going to start.
Yeah, because you put it on fire, right?
Yeah, because you're lighting things on fire. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cooking.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yeah.
How stupid is that?
So I pulled them out. Like I said, I let them sit for 10 minutes. They were crispy, and I just.
And charcoal-y.
No, No. I didn't burn them because I was keeping my eye on them, right? Because that was the first time I tried this little routine. So I kept my eye on them with like a 10-minute left in each of the 20 minutes. I walked out there about 10 minutes left, especially the last one, and especially after the smoke alarm went off. I just stayed out there.
Is that such a round, round thing on the ceiling?
Yes.
Maybe you can put a shower cap over that thing.
I don't think so. I don't think that'll work.
Well, for a little while, maybe. It's just the sensor doesn't need to smell the smoke.
Yeah, I think a little bit of the ingredients fell in the bottom of the pan, and there was some black stuff on the bottom of the pan, if you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think
some grease will fall down too, right?
Say again.
Grease will fall down.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So they weren't all that. I'm gonna try it again. Like I said, I think in my hands, because I didn't cover my hands when I was, putting them in my little dry mix. So I had a bunch of garlic in there, and I can't get the smell off my hands. I mean, it goes away when I wash my hands, but then it comes back like 5-6 minutes later.
Huh.
Yeah, you need to use shampoo to get rid of that smell.
Yeah,
really?
I have a trick for
Yeah.
Lemon juice.
Shampoo also gets rid of diesel smells.
Huh.
I have another trick too. With if you have onions, cut onions, for example.
Yeah.
You just rub your fingers against aluminum.
Really?
Yeah, I have a faucet that's made out of sort of aluminum, metal, and I rub them against it, and I have no smell at all on my fingers.
There you go. You learn something new every day out there, how to get rid of garlic smell and onions. I'm going to try the shampoo bit after the show's over.
Yeah, maybe that was the idea in the first place. You shampooing yourself. And hose yourself down.
Hose yourself down with shampoo. We're losing people left and right here during the show.
But I like the pun with the hose.
Yeah. So no one's going to ask me what I dry rubbed them so I can make them crispy. No one's going to ask that so we can lose more people.
I want you to go to your hose.
Oh, what was the dry rub?
Yeah. So I used, ironically, aluminum-free baking powder. I mixed that with some cornstarch. Then granulated garlic, pepper, salt, and smoked paprika.
Powder, right?
Yeah, the paprika is a powder, yes. But it's smoked.
It's smoking.
It's smoked. It's different than it's pretty different from just regular paprika. It's really deep, dark red instead of the lighter paprika.
Okay, not the ones that you find on chips and stuff.
Yes, it's really deep, dark. It's quite overpowering if you use as much as I did.
Oh my God, you went overboard, didn't you?
A little bit. I didn't have the exact amount of chicken. I didn't have 2 pounds. I had 1.68 pounds, and I used the 2-pound recipe. And I think it was still too much to begin with. If you follow what I'm saying, the recipe, it should have been cut to begin with, but I didn't. So, like I said, I'm going to rectify the situation. I think I could do it. I think it'll make a huge difference the next time. I will update this live stream, this video with the new chicken wings. Give you an update. How about that?
All right. On to another chicken, the Swan.
He's not a chicken.
He might taste like a chicken.
You mother clucker.
You chicken chucker.
Well, somebody said in the chat, well, I lasted as long as I could. Thought this was a black swan chat.
Well, that was the black swan, right? We're talking about other stuff then.
It was the black chicken wings. So
He
what
might
do
be
you?
gone.
So what do these guys want? They want us to talk about the Black Swan since I titled it "The Black Swan Ball Killer."
Of course. This is a flat Earth channel, isn't it?
All right. If you want me to, I guess I can't. Oh, I got to go back 1 second. I got to share my screen.
Yeah.
Really?
And if you guys don't see me anymore, then I'm gone.
No, thanks, Betty.
It's sort of like a 1-2 thing.
You ain't gonna
Right.
say goodbye.
Now, you might be in the middle of something, or other people might be in the middle of something. I don't want to intrude. So.
How will I know when to take over duties then?
When you don't see me, Adam, you need to basically watch me disappear.
It's like preparing for my role. I like it. Okay, I'm on it.
Well, you can do that now, right? And then when I'm gone, you immediately take over.
Is he gonna take us home?
Sounds like I might have to. Unless
Yep.
Nathan comes in.
Did he leave?
Still here.
No, he's still here. As far as we know.
So, with this presentation, so you guys all getting this in Discord?
Not really. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, your website's visible in Discord.
Yeah, I see it.
I decided to take a little different approach. Not going through, the whole. Remember the first, 100 times I did it, I went through the whole thing. Right? I decided against that because I think it's a little bit old. And if they haven't got it by now, they ain't getting it. So, but I did want to concentrate or focus on a couple points that the Black Swan argument. And as you can see, this is the original video where I took the still. Right? I was just remembering back then that whether was it right around, it was in the summer of 2016 or something like that this came out. I could be mistaken. I don't know if I watched it live, but I watched it within 1 or 2 days. Right? I saw this video from BMLSB 69. And I thought it was quite interesting, right? And I looked out there and I seen the horizon and I said, this is really an amazing point. But I just went off to other subjects, right? So that's pretty ironic that I seen this, like I said, when it was brand new. I wanted to share it. I think I mentioned that before. And I don't know if anyone else out there in Discord land had watched this video when it first came out. Anyone?
Yeah, I think I'm the same, John. Be honest, I didn't notice the horizon in the background when I saw it. I'm just looking at it thinking, that's a great shot, and it just because he goes up the steps, doesn't he? And just thinking that distance is amazing. But no, I've got to be honest, I didn't go, there's a horizon behind that, and then unfold the implications.
Yes, I did not either. Anyone else?
For years, I worked offshore for years, and for years we would talk about we're seeing beyond 3 miles, beyond 6 miles, beyond 7 miles, but we didn't put it together with the what's the logic there? The P and the Q.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that here in a minute.
Together, but for years, I didn't. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish up.
No, it's just I would notice I would notice I'm seeing 15 miles just with my eye, and then other people would chime in, but you can't see.
We're only getting bits and pieces of your conversation, sir. Who is it?
Just Bill.
Yeah, Bill, you're roboting.
It's not that far. It's only 3 miles.
Yeah. Can somebody tell them that we're not hearing them all that well?
I have no idea if we can reach him at all.
But that's
Can I say something about that horizon thing? I've been to Greece and you are on these islands and stuff, and you see every day you could see a different horizon, right? Sometimes you would see boats just on the horizon, and other times you would see past the boat, and the horizon would be further along. There would never be a day that the horizon would be the same like distance from your eyes,
Right.
right? And I always sort of had that idea in my mind. I remember back in the day when I was also at sea times and at the beach in my own country, and I'm thinking about that same concept. Why is it every time different, right? And you can see further along, and then you cannot see so far. And of course, it has to do with fog, but sometimes it was just beautiful sunshine, and still it would be different. And you would see a boat in the distance. You can sort of understand what kind of boat it is, like a super large boat or some smaller one. You think, hey, how can it be so far away and I can still see it, right? And I still see the horizon behind it. And you know that even how acute the angle will be in the distance, that the further away it is, even, right? Because it gets like more distance. So when you see those oil platforms and you see the horizon behind it, that space between there is even more than you see in front of it, in my opinion. So yeah, for me it was always a done deal. But how can you explain someone what they see through their eyes, right? If they're just colorblind or, in a sense, horizon blind.
Horizon blind. Was that before you were in the flat Earth or while you were in?
I always wondered about that beforehand, and later on, it was for me it was a done deal, right? That we could see further away, and yeah, I didn't have the ability to just point that out. And now with the oil platforms and the position where these are at, right? And you know that when you're on the beach and you would zoom in on those, you know how the distance is due to the measurements. Is it a global positioning system, right? That we sort of know. So it's their system, so it must be true, right?
So the main point with you, we'll get. Hold on a second, Adam. Main point with you is that you noticed right away that the horizon would be in different spots each and every time due to whatever reason, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Adam.
Right.
I'm just remembering what I did with it. I remember because that video keeps triggering me. The thing I've looked at that is, you know me, it's a bit of maths, isn't it? Straight away. So I've gone, number one, the second platform's higher than the first. Number two, I've then worked out the differential difference of 6.2 and 9.4, because it's not 9.4 minus 6.2 squared times 8 inches. It's 6.2 squared, 9.4 squared times 8 inches each, and then you subtract it. It shouldn't be just like a 3-mile drop distance on a ball. It should be difference between 6 and 9 miles, which is considerably larger than that of 3 when you apply that formula. That's what I remember thinking. And it's still, the base of it is still above the other platform's base. You know what I mean? There, look, on screen. The back platform, its feet are still above the feet of the front platform. And that's just mathematically nonsensical, like I said, when you calculate that differential curve application. That's what I remember, John, is looking at it going, yeah, that is it. No, there was no horizon in my head, I have to be honest.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take on that. Everyone would have a different take, right?
But you hadn't birthed it yet, so it's easy for people to think this, right? We'd all been looking at stuff in the distance and it being, and trying to figure out ways. And because to us, the horizon isn't the leading edge of a ball, it's very clever to work it in. That's the power of the modus tollens, isn't it? It gives them by their own petard. So yeah, it wasn't a way of viewing things because you're trying to get out of that viewing and you're trying to look at the majesty of distance. And no, I'm looking at it saying, look at those distances and look how perspective's playing out.
Mm-hmm.
No horizon in my head.
Yeah, but once you came out with that Black Swan, it was like, wow, duh.
That's an amazing take on that, Neil.
I
Thank you.
agree, 100%.
Thank you.
Well, short and concise, right?
Yes, very concise, Neil.
It's a well
Well,
done.
I don't want to. I want to turn into Brian. You only have one of him, so he's going to be long. I'm going to be quick. Well, duh.
Yeah. So I wanted to take the actual modus tollens and just point out something that I think many of, not only Baltards, but many people miss. So let's go. We'll just go through it and I'll circle back. Modus tollens, you know, the holy shnikes, this is going to leave a mark. Yeah, if P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P. So if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, P, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's Q. Just see geometric horizon, curve calculators, not Q. The horizon distance is greater than 9.41 miles, therefore not P. The Earth is not a sphere. The really important part that I think many people missed, and I've seen people even the other day, I can't recall which flat earther, I spoke up about this the other day, that he had the photo. It wasn't this one, but it was one, it was similar to this photo. And he was speaking to the height of the platform legs. And I said, what in the world are you doing? This has nothing to do with the argument whatsoever. I was kind of shocked at it. After 3 years, you guys don't get the argument? The thing that I wanted, that really stands out, that I really wanted to focus on, see, do you see this part right here? Then every horizon distance, it's the Q statement. It's this one. Then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225. See, that's the bang for the buck. That's the rub. That's the argument, right? So when you look at this photo, who really cares what's happening with the oil platforms, right?
People don't really argument.
Yeah, it's not the argument exactly. It's the horizon distance. But I don't know what it is with people. They just can't. Maybe they're just looking at the photo now and not looking at the argument. That could be the case, because there was many times through the past 3 years that we've asked people what the actual argument was, and they couldn't respond. So that has to be what it is. Am I off base with that, guys? Do you think that that's the case?
I think that's the case. But let me ask you a question. If you're asking about anything other than the horizon, then you're not getting it. You're totally missing it.
Correct.
Okay.
And also QE, like when you go to the Earth curve calculator, it's not gonna say 1.22 miles. There'll just be an X there, right? So you would have to do more research to find out what that X is.
Some of the calculators
You know what I
have
mean?
that.
So a lot of people are just gonna miss it.
Some of the calculators have it right in there in parentheses, the formula. That's what I was referring to. So, but the horizon, like I said, it's the horizon distance measurement is the key to the argument. So it's I think it's patently obvious that people don't understand the argument, and they just looked at the photo. And
no. The way I've described it, right, is how I viewed it and analysed it back then. You've then gone on and you've developed the black swan. Okay, so back then you could say, "Oh, I'm just looking at the picture." Like that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm not drawing the horizon in part of the the appraisal. But the modus tollens lays this out quite clearly. So say, "Oh, you're just looking at the picture now." No, then you're ignoring the point or not hearing it. I'd have to say ignoring, because if you are looking at the picture, what do? Oh, bendy cranes. So that means you're ignoring the point. You can mitigate for people before the arguments developed and before the black swan appears, you could mitigate for that, but you can't now.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The newer people, I want to say new, within the past year, right? We understand that the ball-tards don't get it. We got that part. But from new people, just over the past, I would say, like I said, a year, but just even over the past few weeks, some people have challenged others with the Black Swan argument, and all they say, oh, yeah, that, you know, they start with the first feigned exasperations, like, oh, you know, those types of things. Oh, the Black Swan, yeah, that's been debunked. Yeah. What's the argument? Either that or crickets. Right? And they just go with the photo. That's what I'm talking about, Adam. Not when we initially first seen it. I'm talking about after the argument was put out and it was all put together. How can you then say, I don't care if these things, these oil platforms are doing cartwheels? It doesn't matter. That's not part of the argument. This Q statement is the argument. That's what I'm saying. So
exactly, that's what I don't understand.
Yeah, yeah, it's still happening, Adam. In fact, it happened yesterday. It was a new person, you know, in the genre. I haven't seen his name in a while. They were on 24/7, and they just fell right back into the same trap again. Now, I took
What did they say? Where did they go? Just humor me.
Well, they didn't know what the argument was. I didn't challenge it. It was somebody else talking to him. And they challenged what the actual argument is. And they didn't know.
So that's two things then, isn't it? So they're either not prepared to go with the modus tollens that's cleanly presented in front of them, or when they pick it up by one of their baller mates, their baller mate doesn't explain that.
Yes,
to them. And
correct.
They just go, here's a picture, bendy cranes, babark, refraction, and then they think they can come in and challenge it. So it's one or the other, though, because it requires non-knowledge or denial of the knowledge of the modus tollens within it. Because that's the integral part. The picture existed well before the Black Swan. So like I say, they have to be ignoring it, or for some reason in Baller World, they're sending folks in with no comprehension of the logical syllogism that's involved with the picture.
Yes. Yes, and train wrecking themselves. Now, I did take a bit of artistic license when the argument came to me, and I said, and with the photo, I was looking at the photo, and when the argument came, and I said, so I used the photo as more of a Trojan horse, right? Because Nathan, when I first showed Nathan, right, he's like, why the heck are you using that photo? There's so many cleaner photos that you can use. I can remember the day that we were talking, and I said, no, I want them to say refraction. He went silent for about 30 seconds. And I don't know if it hit him then, but shortly after that, he was euphoric, right? Because it is a Trojan horse. And the photo helps it out, because I don't know if you realize this yet, ballers. We've been telling you for 3 years. See, this is all about the geometric horizon. The instant you say refraction, you've just train wrecked the entire ball-tard argument or position. It's over. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to ask a quick question to Ruhif. How's that geometric horizon working out for you, Ruhif?
I knew it.
Yes.
Can I say something quick on this?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I'm in a shopping centre, so I'll make it quick. I just heard you talking earlier about how different people, when they first saw the video before the argument came out, when it first came out or whatever, what they were talking about what they saw. Now, I didn't see this video or hear of BLM SB 69 until the Black Swan argument came out. But the very first thing I most definitely would have, the first thing I would have looked at, because I was already making that argument years beforehand, was the horizon. The first thing I would have looked at. Because that is what they're claiming boats sailing over. That's the most important part.
Yeah, screw you. All right. I didn't look at it. I didn't realise.
I'm boasting.
Me either.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sorry for your ball-tard losses with this. Like I did, I used some artistic license and put a Trojan horse. Doesn't mean you had to take it. Right? But you do. So when you say refraction, it's all over. Number one has nothing to do with the argument. Number two, you train wreck, you unwittingly torpedo the entire position. I still don't think they're getting it. I because I'm hearing refraction. So number one,
this is what.
Go ahead, Adam. Yep.
This is what did the rumpus, and finally demonstrate he was lying. In terms of the position of the horizon.
Speak up, Adam.
Sorry, I'm in Mike's way. It was always a geometric horizon. Yeah. So this is the fundamental point. If they want to excuse this picture by invoking refraction, that refraction applies to everything. The silly thing is, you can almost in your own mind reposition those oil rigs. You can't really, but I'm being kind. But it's that repositioning of the horizon that's the killer. And this is why so many swords decides to this sword, John. It's not just double-edged. Yeah? Look at where you're repositioning it to. Look at the farcicalness of your claim. You suddenly the hill is no longer a hill. The hill's behind the thing that was previously behind the hill. That's what they're trying to describe here. By invoking refraction, which then ultimately means they can't measure anything. Let them grab it. I think that was your phrase, wasn't it, to Nathan? Let them invoke it.
Yes. That's what I wanted them to do.
What you said was, want them to say refraction. That's how you phrased it to me. So I was presenting it. I was saying, let's give him this image. And I can remember it because there was I'll say it as I said it at the time, hesitant though it is, a better one. What do you mean better? Well, look, there's no bendy cranes in this one. Well, obviously now I can just summarise the fact that the horizon is the argument, not the cranes. But the fact that the bendy cranes are there when they readily available were ones without bent cranes. Right? Shouldn't that say it all? Of all the black swans to pick, why was that the black swan that he picked? Me, in the third person, as I'm talking to him. You, the audience. Well, because he wants them to say, well, it's refracted. Really? The geometry that requires tangent points isn't a tangent anymore. It's bent. Well, given that the amount of arguments that have followed that require the horizon and angle measurements and angle corrections and dip correction, these all require straight lines. It's kamikaze defense to say refraction.
Yes. Yes. But they're still going to do it. Oh, and by the way, you don't know what refraction is, Baltards. You have no idea what refraction is. Look up Snell's law. Number one. That's just an ancillary point to this. I usually don't go down that road. Once they refraction, I try to point them to the actual argument, to the modus tollens, and said, that's not really the argument, and I try to point them to this statement, the Q statement up here. But nope, it's like I'm talking to, a root vegetable. It doesn't matter because it's all they got is refraction, and that's it. So thank you very much. Say yes to the dress. Welcome to Flat Earth. That's all I got to say about that. And if you say, oh, that's the only one, nope. These are just two. There's many people that have done more quote unquote black swans. I mean, this is just two. And this was done by BMLSB also.
But don't you just need one?
Yeah. Yes.
You do, but it did trigger a lot of flat earthers as well. So John Dee did some. He got France. And the thing is, the triggering made people. What you want to do is go further, isn't it? John Dee did that, and I know Mitchell in Australia, from Australia, did them as well. So it was. You only need one, but isn't it nice to have lots?
Yes.
Different ones in different locations.
I'm sorry, Adam, I rumpushed you. Go ahead.
Well, the last bit I finished, and differently, but what you also provided was the second Black Swan, which was the one with the wave intersection, just to bait the ballers a bit more. I don't see what's wrong with a flock of black swans. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying there's something wrong with it, but it's nice to just have that one and say, all I need is one, buddy, to destroy your whole ball.
In Cole Popper's world, yes. But when you're dealing with ballers, it's nice to fire a load at them.
I did very well put, Adam.
I'm gonna go, guys. See you guys later.
Bye, Betty.
Betty, have fun. I was about to get a glass of wine, and now I'm in quandary.
Yeah, but that
I'll
keeps
watch
you
the
on
super
game, man.
chats.
Keeps you on your game.
Stress.
Stay focused. Stay focused.
I'm not. I'm going for the wine. I'll see you in a minute.
Bye, guys. Later.
So, are there any other questions, concerns with the Black Swan? It's not that complicated, guys. It really isn't. Just focus on the argument is solely concerning where the horizon is. That's it. The oil platforms are just there to demarcate distance. That's it. It's where the horizon is and where it should be on a globe tard with that radius of 3959 miles. It's just simple as that. They can't get around the geometry of what they're living on. You can't do it. And by the way, with this photo right here, using Pythagorean formula, if we say, and that's how I've always presented it, I say, is the horizon at least 10 miles away? Because I don't know how far away it is. It really doesn't matter. If it's 10 miles away, which is much further than that, and if you agree to that, which you must because it's right in your face, then the horizon, using Pythagorean formula, like I said, is 264,000 miles. The radius of the Earth, I'm sorry. It's as simple as that. It's simple geometry. And it's really over. I'm sorry for your losses. Questions, comments, concerns, something that I didn't go over?
Yeah, the second Trojan horse that you had. So in the presentation for the Black Swan, if you'll remember, you put an alternative image in. That alternative image was also a Black Swan.
Oh, yeah. You ruined it. I was going to that next. That's too funny. We get that. That's scary thinking.
Oh, that's the one I referred to. So you already set them up for them to go, oh, look, there's a horizon intersecting. You haven't got this. I mean, we know it's a swell.
Brian thought about it 2 weeks ago. Stop.
Yes, he did. Yeah, it's up on screen now, guys. That one, right? The initial Black Swan presentation in 2000, this photo was in. I had this in my original presentation and discussed it at length. But still, see the difference? Yeah, it's still a Black Swan. No matter what's happened to that second platform back, I could care less. Does everyone get that? Or is, am I not explaining or articulating that correctly? So these two photos, I just put them together. These two photos are taken with the same camera and camera height 4 days apart. Not only are A and B both Black Swans, but Baltards pay close attention. Your physical sphere-edge horizon, like Betty was talking about, that blocks boats and buildings has moved. So you've got a geometric distance out there of something that's constantly moving. That's non sequitur, right on its face. And number two, does your spinning monkey ball inflate and deflate? Because that's what it would have to do. I'm speaking to the geometry of it. To try to get them to focus on what the important parts of the argument are and what they stand for, but they still ain't getting it. I still see that second photo B pop up as a rebuttal to the black swan from grown adults after over 3 years. Can somebody explain that to me?
Nah, that's just sad.
I'm not getting it. Maybe you're trying to Jedi mind trick knuckle dragon window lickers, you know, the mouth breathers, that all they have to do is see that second platform back there, platform habitat being blocked, and that's the end of the argument. Just a visual type of thing. Look, that's the end of the black swan. No. It's the horizon. Right? Yeah, this is blocked. I wonder why. Who could tell me one of the reasons why this photo would exist with it blocking that second platform back there? Just right off the cuff. Other than Earth curve. Anyone?
Waves, man.
That's tides, baby. Tides can do that. Have you ever been to the ocean and looked out onto the ocean and seen bigger waves and tides come in? No? It doesn't matter anyway. The second photo is another black swan. Why? Well, where's the horizon at in this photo? At 1 foot observer height. Pretty close, because that's Platform Hill House, right? So that horizon right there is pretty close to 6.21 miles away, isn't it?
I'll put it at 6, John, which gives you an R value of 95,040.
Yeah, right. So that's what I did. I just busted it down. Well, let's just say it's 6 miles. You're finished. Because it should still be at 1.22 miles. Simple as that, folks. Game, set, match. Questions, comments, concerns? Yikes, wrong one.
In the second picture, the first platform now sits on top of the hill that used to be in front of it. It should be 5 miles in front of it, the hill.
Correct.
But now, because of refraction, it sits on top of the hill.
What? Yeah, well, you see, there's another problem. If we want to go down to refraction road, and by the way, I'm deeply sorry for your losses. This is just an ancillary point. Refraction in your fairy tale paradigm isn't addressing the horizon itself. It's always objects in relation to the horizon. Those things are changing, not the horizon. So even if I jump in your paradigm, in your so-called model, you still got it wrong. So what do you got to say to that? Every which way you turn, there's a flamethrower. Gotta love it when that happens, eh? Don't like.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say the flamethrower. As they try and wiggle and squiggle. You see, I mentioned the maths earlier. I do just want to reiterate it because it is geekily interesting. As I said, the first platform's at 6.2. The other one is at 9.4. Now, if you take those away, you've got 3.2 miles, which would equate to 81 inch, 6.8 feet. So you could look at that as a ball and go, oh, look, the second platform, it should be 6.8 feet below the first one, but because of refraction, it renders like that. But that's not the case of what's happening, because if we're viewing over a ball, Then, like I said, we're looking at two things, one at 6 miles and one at 9.4. So if we go to 9.4, that's equivalent to 59 feet. And if we go to the 6.2, it's equivalent to 25 feet. So the way in which you're viewing this should not be a differential of 6.8 feet, which is a 3.2 mile difference. It should reflect as the differential of 59 and 25, which is 34 feet. Much lower perspective to you. And this is this strange thing, when if they're going to invoke refraction, you can look at it and actually see it's not even any 7/6R refraction. It's a kind of magical flat rendering refraction is what they have to invoke, which is different at different points and functions at different rates, more importantly. So that back thing's got to be at, I don't know, 2000/6R, whereas the front one's probably only 1400/6R. And that's the physical nature of what they're trying to invoke. If you do want to live on a ball and think that that is somehow possible on it, the reality is, A's a clear day, B, we have waves, man. And you got to give Ranty a shout out there. Without his work over Blackpool and that, and getting those this is where it's good, this multitude of different pictures, and him showing the tides and the effects of that. How objects in the near ground, if they're only a foot higher in the near ground, they can have massive impacts in terms of obstruction in the background, and that's what picture B is really demonstrating.
Yep.
I've done me ramble.
No, it was a good ramble. It's good. Anything else?
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Oh, and it says shoaling and tidal bulge. Yeah, they're the sorts of things that can create that obstruction. Yeah, not just a big wave, bit of wind. You know, there are all sorts of things that can create shots like that. The point is, the ballers would use that and to say, "Ha, disproven." Well, this is the point with picture B. It doesn't. I said if all it does is show, instead of having a 250,000 mile R value instead of 3.5, you've got a, as I say, 96,000 mile R value.
Yeah,
that's what you want to claim. Then take that claim, ballers.
That's it.
Nathan's computer must be stable. He's done a runner. All right, Nave.
I absolutely love it. I've been listening in the background.
Right, got a full deck of people.
Who was that? D Rose?
Yeah, I've been working today, so haven't been able to really interject anything much.
I didn't hear what you said.
No, I said that was absolutely beautiful as always, the Black Swan. You know, especially when you guys reify it all the time and just bring out extra points and reiterate the same point and exemplify previous point to elaborate on it more. It's almost like after you've done what the Predator did and you ripped the skull out of the body, what else can you do? You can only make tools out of the people's bones. That's how much it's just exterminating and annihilating the globe belief, the earth curve belief, to the point where the skeleton has to be used for soup utensils, to stir your soup.
It's like playing Walking Dead, right? It's like you're in the movie.
Exactly. Now
you're still Walking Dead.
Exactly.
Wow, that pineapple's tart.
Hey, if QE is still there, I just want to. I'm pretty sure you've done this before, but if you could, for the public listening audience, please explain to them why they cannot compare this still photo of a video, which it actually was, which has been, of course, contrast, tint, in order to I would say, enhance that it's not a compared photo to what NASA showed, because that's an argument that I've heard people say. They would say, you want to say ours is fake, but we're supposed to believe this is real. How do we not know this and that and the other? So how do we put a record? I mean, you might have done it before. Put a record. Just let them know this is not a composite, made up, drawn from CGI photo. This is an actual photo of the apparent horizon going well beyond both Oilers, and it's real. And it probably goes beyond that, but that's as much as this particular camera can bring you out, is whatever 6-10 miles beyond the second Oilers. Please explain that.
Well, so it's a false equivalence fallacy. Number one, I mean, you can go there and do this, right? In fact, I've driven by this place, ironically, in Santa Barbara. I didn't realize it, obviously at the time, because that was many years ago. But yeah, well, you could just go there. I pinpointed the place. You guys can go there, take a picture, and like you said, all I did was adjust the contrast to bring the horizon out a little bit more, but I just showed the video where it came from. You could still see it, right? So it's a false equivalence fallacy. If they say, well, we have our photos from space, well, no, you're in a second law of thermodynamics violation. You're not in a second law of thermodynamics violation out here at the beach at Santa Barbara. Well, you are without a container. But yeah, it's a really juvenile false equivalence fallacy, just on the surface.
Right.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But that a lot of them are juvenile, so
Yeah, that
Heroes, it's like a nervous twitch. After you hack the zombie's head off, they'll still twitch. So what they're doing, it's a nervous twitch. That's all you got to know.
Adam.
Neil, this is my moment. Got a super chat. James Richard, thank you very much. If the ship is going over a curve, the nose will be pointed down. From the viewer's perspective, the ship is not level. But for those on the ship, it is level. How could that be? Kind of irrelevant. Thank you, James Richards.
No, it's a good point. I mean, Brian brought up that point on the other show, right? It was on the last QE Live. I think Brian brought that point up. So it's a good point. Thanks, James, for the super chat, man. The only one of the day, by the way. Way to lead the way. But my additional point after that, James, you don't have to super chat for this. That, well, if that were true, if the boats were going over the horizon, wouldn't the water follow it?
Oh, yeah, now I remember. That's right. I remember you saying that. Yeah, what's going on with the water?
I don't think that is really... I haven't heard anyone say that before. Maybe they just blew it. Oh, that's just QE. I'll just blow that off. Now think about it. If that boat is going over the horizon, shouldn't water follow? Water flows, right? Yes, that's one of the cardinal aspects of water behavior. Well, if the boat's going over, being the key word, over, the water should follow it.
Okay, I'm gonna be a globe dum dum. I'm gonna be a globe dum dum advocate. Well, just how the water crashes in the waves when it hits the shoreline of the land. That's the water flowing from the other side. That's why you have these great tidal waves. These waves the guys go surfing on. And that's because the water's poured down from the curve and it hits the earth, the shoreline. Get it? And it splashes real hard. That's what water does when you pour it, right?
Boy, that's really bad, man.
Santa Barbara to see a black swan, I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to be anywhere where you couldn't see one. 2 miles is not very far.
The only other person that says, well, it doesn't say it exactly how you say it, but Nathan talks about how they have an edge. They say we have an edge, but isn't it your edge that boats are falling over?
Just on that edge, another super chat from James Richard. The water would follow it until it's level! Exclamation mark.
That's correct.
Thanks, James.
Yep. Thanks, James. You're right. Yeah, correct. You got it. Yes.
I must be the hot hand every time I come in so many super chats.
You don't have to go to Santa Barbara to see a black swan, guys, because at 1 foot off the ground, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a place that you couldn't see further than 1.2 miles.
Yeah, and the key point of that statement, let me go back. I still got it up. Let me go back to this. I had a couple points I wanted to focus on, and I forgot this one. And that just reminded me. See, you see this? I put stars around this in the Q statement. So then every horizon distance measurement must be, this is really key statement coming up next, must be no more than, very key statement there. Now, it can be less than, no problems, because you're going to have all kind of issues or situations or conditions that can bring that horizon closer, right? Weather conditions, fog, whatever. So it can be less than without any issue. But this is a key statement, never more than. Because those are the geometric constraints of that little radius value you conjured. That's what happens when you conjure stuff. It has deeper ramifications and branches that have to follow logically. Everyone follow that? Hopefully. Thanks for bringing that up.
It has consequences, you mean?
Yes.
It highlights a number of problems again, because we talked about how they're going to invoke refraction to render this, and we've talked about drop distances and things like that. There is kind of like a rule to these optics, whether it's be miraging, Fata Morgana, or all these things, that for these to occur, the necessary prerequisite is to have a line of sight to the object for you to be able to have that line of sight displaced. So when you see these like, mirages at sea or Fata Morgana, all of them have the prerequisite of you need a direct line of sight for it to occur. What you've never seen in reality is Fata Morgana occurring and the cafe over the other side of the hill appearing, or a big truck on the other side of the hill appearing. That isn't possible with kind of atmo effects that we do witness in reality. The prerequisite, like I said, is a direct line of sight is required before any distortion can occur. And that is the exact opposite of what's being suggested here. There is no direct line of sight. This thing is popping up from behind a hill and appearing level, which is in, I say, contradiction to how we understand optics.
It's in contradiction to plain Jane observations.
Yeah.
Huh, you guys all tuckered out?
I've seen the panels are full for a while. We even got extra Irish joining us. Brian's not here.
Brian, did that little stinker just come in to say that his point and then leave?
It says he was in the shops.
He was shopping. He didn't have enough potatoes at home.
He'll be upset because the Tuatha De Danann has arrived. I'll tell him he missed her.
I gotta stop some.
And we baited him well. He's back, look.
Did he come back?
His heroes. He's back to see his heroes.
He came back in to say something else. There's a point I make all the time. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. He left.
I was hearing him until he asked if I could hear him.
Good one, Brian. Brian, we heard you the first time. Yes, we can hear you.
We're currently on mute, though, so we're not going to hear you now.
Oh, mic check?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry, I thought I was trying to speak a minute ago, but I don't think I was connected.
No, you were connected. We heard you, but you couldn't hear us.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. That happens to me with this Discord. Anyway, I'm not going to start complaining about Discord. Just on what you were talking about there a moment ago, there's a point I make often, and I don't know if the point gets across, that within their claim, their horizon is never not refracted. So that means every single horizon in the history of the Earth, in the past, the present, and the future, is a black swan. Every single one. Because they have to claim every single one is refracted. So that means none of them in the history of time has been, is now, or will ever, can be geometric within their own claim.
Good point.
They're essentially doing themselves in.
Yes. Yes, you got it, Brian. You're exactly right.
Is that thanks to Thomas Andrew Young?
Partly. But if they would listen to Andrew Thomas Young, he double speaks. So it's a little confusing. So I would say he's partly responsible for that. Yes, so thanks a lot, Andrew.
Tayu's responsible for another super chat. James Richard again. Thanks, James. $5. The spinning ball Earth itself defies all natural law.
Correct. James, you're Lone Ranger out here today, brother. Thank you, sir. So Brian's point is correct. I don't know. It's a mind-numbing doublespeak, right? Because even in their own paradigm, according to Andrew Thomas Young, all the refraction effects, which isn't refraction, by the way, because Andrew Thomas Young doesn't know what refraction is either. But according to him, all the effects of refraction are in relation to objects, in relation to the horizon, not the horizon. So it's a cluster gaggle of doublespeak nonsense that is very hard to describe because it train wrecks itself. Because as soon as somebody says that the horizon's refracted, and I stop them and I say, okay, define refraction, and then give me the effects of refraction, the 5, 6, or 7 effects, and all of them have nothing to do with the horizon proper, It's always in relation to the horizon. It's over.
Adam,
Refraction has
Adam,
nothing
can
to
you?
do-
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Adam.
no.
I just got to ask you a question. Can you repeat what Rumpus said when Nathan caught him lying? What did he actually say?
And this goes to Brian's point and complements what I was saying. This again is a contradiction. I said you can't see something. You've not got a direct line of sight. You can't misplace it. It can't be moved optically if you haven't got a direct line of sight. But what Brian's saying is they always have 7/6R, which fundamentally means you're always able to see a little bit over the top of that hill, whether that's a water hill or an actual real hill. They're all actually invoking with 7/6R the fact that you can always see over the hill a little bit down the other side because light bends. In terms of Nathan and Rumpus, Rumpus always maintained that, and as correct to the definition, that things move with respect to the horizon, not that the horizon moved itself, and that horizon was geometrically defined. I said back then he's not claiming you can see over a hill. Things move with respect to the horizon. Then he started to lie and say, no, the horizon is moving as well. Right, while you're there, a couple more super chats, QA. I'm on fire, baby.
You're on fire,
warrior.
Adam. Yeah, because there was nothing. Now it's on fire. Did you show some leg?
I'm telling you, they're out. They're out. I've only got my shorts on, so.
He just had to threaten to show some.
That's it. That was enough. That peaceful warrior, £2. Now go get your Shine Box Globers.
That's good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And another one. I'm smoking hot here. Titan Long, $5. So James isn't alone. Thank you, Titan Long.
Hey, thanks, Titan. And Peaceful Warrior. That's a good one.
Is he trying to say that my accent amuses him and I'm funny?
Yeah. I
Funny
like
how?
it. I like it.
Clown?
And Peaceful Warrior, hold on. Peaceful Warrior, I may have to commandeer that. So just to let you know, I may be using that over the next couple weeks. Appreciate it. I usually do it to Neil, but I'm going to start doing it to Globers. Oh, and by the way, like I was just going to say, this is what happens when you make shit up and it's a lie about concerning the refracted horizon. See, if that statement was never made, then I don't know if we could say that the Sextant argument would have never been born. I can't say that, but it would have been put off for a long time until somebody got it, because when I was constructing the Black Swan argument, the second, because I had that in the back of my mind, the refracted horizon, and as soon as I thought of that, the Sextant appeared in my mind. And I said to myself, you know what? If you say the horizon's refracted, now not knowing all that much about a sextant, I knew that it was used for navigation. I was never in the Navy. I am an expert in navigation, but that's land navigation. But I knew of the sextant and its capabilities. I didn't know all the details at that point, but I knew that the horizon was a major player with that sextant. And as soon as I heard that horizon's refracted, then that sextant, boom, image in my mind. So the Black Swan argument and the sextant argument were born, not the sextant argument, but the sextant subject was born at the same time. They were conjoined twins. And it all came from you lying. That's what led us down those roads. So for behalf of myself and all the Flat Earth Debate crew, we want to thank you for that lie.
So you're saying you gave birth to twins at that time?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. The Sextant, like I said, not the Sextant argument. 10th did all the legwork, and Brian and Adam and all that, but they were birthed right at the same time. In fact, I told them guys, I said, just because I brought it up, I said, this has ramifications for Sextant, but I said, I don't want to go there right now. Right? I wanted to stress the Black Swan first before we went there, but 10th and all the other guys went off on, they kept it quiet. They were doing that stuff in the background when the Black Swan, when we were trying to help people understand the Black Swan argument. But they were birthed at the same moment. So, again, if it wasn't for your lies, your dumbassery, you'd probably I could probably safely say that it would have been some time before everybody got to the Sextant. Not saying that it would never happen, but it would have taken some time, at the very least. So, again, on behalf of me and everyone on the Flat Earth Debate channel, we want to thank you. Okay? How you like them apples? Don't ever lie is the moral of the story. I love that silence. Adam!
I can't help it. To ask the question.
Go ahead, ask a question.
Earlier, there was a question. There was a question posed earlier, and I would really like a concise answer.
Before you do,
did Betty ever find out what was underneath that woman's panties?
Dude, just give me a second. I got duties tonight. I'm sorry to interrupt. Before you do, I've got another super chat in. Rather than it interrupt after the question, you repeat. James Richards, he's on fire.
Yeah, he is.
Again, $10 super chat. Arguing with my brother over the tides, if the moon's gravity was strong enough to move all the water, wouldn't a person weigh dramatically less in the tide?
Huh. Arguing with my brother over tides, if the moon's gravity was strong enough to move all that water, that's a complete subject matter crushing all by itself, but I digress. Wouldn't a person weigh dramatically less standing in the tide?
I suppose if you pre-assume spooky action at a distance, then you're correct. If you were facing the moon, then you would weigh less. If you were on the opposite hemisphere, you'd be pulled towards the Earth extra. You'd have extra gravity based on that. Whether it's spooky action at a distance or even bending in space-time, doesn't matter, does it?
That's a multi-layered question right there. Got me thinking about that. I thought you were going to go another direction with that, James, but you surprised me with that.
I mean, you could go with the moon doesn't do that.
Yes, you could destroy it. Yeah, but giving them the moon's... Yeah, you know what I would have done. Yes, but granting... Because it's James. Granting the moon's gravity, would his point, still be true?
Yeah, if you go with it and follow it to its logical conclusion, then you have to weigh more if you're antipodal to the face, the side facing the moon. You'd have to weigh less, yeah, because there'd be the balancing out of those either two fields, bendy space-time, or an additional spooky action at a distance that's not only pulling you but pulling the water away from the surface as opposed to pulling you towards the surface when you're antipodal.
Yeah, but you see, the tides is what's getting me. How could you weigh somebody in a tide? Not trying to be... Go ahead.
I think it's to do with the tides. If you face... Because that requires the pre-assumption that tides are created by the moon.
Right.
If you do that, I suppose the point where the tide will be strongest would be the point of shortest distance.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not necessarily standing in the water, but being in that gravitational. Oh, sorry, I was sick. Nearly said. I'm going to say it in that gravitational field. Yeah. So I think that's the point of the
right. Got it.
Log.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good. See, James is thinking out there, isn't he? This wasn't just this was multi-layered right here. Of course, we got
like it.
Go ahead.
You made me use the word gravitational field. See, again, terrible. Thank you, James. Right, back to the question then, because I had to interrupt there. I don't know who it was.
Twad Wazzle, why don't you have YouTube memberships, QE? Thought it was a little bit overkill. I suppose. I'm not saying that there's anything bad with people having memberships. I just briefly thought about it, Twad, and then dropped it.
You could have, how there's different levels of membership. It's worth doing. You could have like sirloin, fillet, and wagyu.
That's not a bad idea, right?
And chicken wings too.
Start off with chicken wings.
Seasoned chicken wings, that's not a bad idea. You know what, Twad? Yeah, I'd have to think about it. But good point.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I was going to say something about the tides there. Just something I noticed, that where I go swimming is a lagoon, and the best time to swim there, you can swim anytime, but the best time is when the tide is at fully low, when it's full out, because it's the warmest. But so I gave up looking to see when the full low tide was, because I go onto Google looking for full low tide, and it'll give me the full low tide for a place that's 1 mile away from where I go, right? Where I go is the back of this place, so it's about a mile, if even that, right, away. And every time it's wrong, every time. So they're working off of the pre-assumption that the moon is controlling the tides, and moon phases and different times of the month concerning the moon to give a low tide, but it's never right. I go out and it's either the low tide has either happened and it's over, or it hasn't even happened yet. I just gave up looking. So I can't say, don't get me wrong, I'm not claiming the moon is not connected to the tides, because I don't know if it is or isn't. I just know that to claim that it does what it does, obviously we know it doesn't use gravity, right? But the claim that it controls the tides, I don't see the evidence of that myself. And as I said, if you look online, for me anyway, where I am, every time they told me the low tide is, let's say, at 3:30 in the day. So, okay, go out there at 3:20 and it's nowhere near low tide, or low tide is gone and over. You know what I mean? It's like, what kind of information, where are they getting this information from? They have to be somehow working it through their belief that the moon is controlling the tides. So this has to be full low tide at 3:30, because that's what it would have to be within the paradigm that we believe.
But what you're saying there, when you actually tested that, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. If I want to know full low tide, I actually ask someone else on the street, or I'll ask somebody when it's full low tide, because the average person will. If I ask the right person, obviously I could ring someone, whatever. Someone I know, they would know, and they wouldn't even occur to them that Google are giving you low tides that don't match. So, I mean, they know it's what low tide is because they fish all the time, or they're fishing regular or whatever. So they know when it's full low every day. So, but Google are giving giving me information that's constantly wrong. I have yet for it to be right one time.
Huh.
Don't know why that is.
That's more on the lines of what Nathan did back in the day with the, what was it, date and time? What was that, Adam? What did he do with the sun?
The sun on a flat Earth live.
Oh, there you are, Nathan. Sorry, go ahead.
We just tracking the sun. So we asked people to give us their solar, noon, and sunrise, sunset across the plane. That was it, basically. You just tuned in with those, with the information showing your sun at the zenith was the most useful. Because it showed the time and date map was out by an hour in various different locations. So one particular one that resonated, or I can remember, was a woman lifting up a plant pot and showing, yeah, the sun's definitely directly over me. Look, the shadow's directly below this plant pot. And on time and date, it did not match. It was out by an hour.
That's what it was, time and date. Yep. I remember you guys doing that. That was some years ago, wasn't it? That's back in the day.
8 years ago.
Yeah. Yep. So that's similar to what Brian said. So what it should be in their quote unquote model, they state those numbers like they're actual fact, but when you go out and actually test them to see, they're off. That's the moral of the story. Yeah.
I was just going to say, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off at the end. I've noticed that with time and date myself with the sun, it's not right for where I am. I've noticed it not be right. It might be right maybe at equinox or something like that, maybe. I don't know, I never checked that. But randomly, it's been wrong when I did check it. So, you know, when they say, and where they say the sun is going to be coming from, the angle, different things like that, it's not being correct. Because they have a pre-assumption, don't they?
Yes.
Of how this whole thing works. And it's all, they have it down to a finely tuned mathematically, they have it. So they have it mathematically finely tuned, I meant to say.
Right.
But that doesn't mean anything if it doesn't match reality.
Exactly. You got it. Yep. So they're banking on people probably not checking it.
That's really all we were doing. We were just checking it. That's all we were really doing.
Yeah.
But that does take quite an immense amount of work. If you go back and look at those, 48 hours in total, 2 times 24 hours of tracking the sun on a flat Earth live, it's a lot of work. I remember it. I could not do that physically now. Just being a bit older, I couldn't do it. I couldn't stay up for 24 hours straight doing that. I did then. I couldn't now.
Hey, I got a question. Can you do that randomly anywhere? Like, for instance, I'm driving right now, and I see the sun straight above me, and I notice every car, sometimes when you're behind traffic, sometimes the shadow of the car is on the passenger side, or it might be on the driver's side. This time, every single person's shadow of their vehicle is right below, like a freaking double car underneath the 4 tires. Does that show any significance? Because I know if it was later on in the day and the sun was more to my left going west, that it would be a shadow on the other side of the passenger. That's what I typically see around 5, 6 o'clock. So can you pick these things up randomly, just looking at light posts and buildings or whatever, whatever's infrastructure.
Like wells or obelisks. Yeah, dang, Erasmus.
What? I think that's being made is shadows, sticks in the ground. What does it actually mean? Back in the day, what Nathan did, and members of the early flat Earth community, weren't they, Nathan? As early founding members of the community, what they did even then was find out that what was shown on time and date isn't commensurate with reality. Close, and as Brian's alluded to, yeah, even the tides, it's close, but it's not accurate. That's not the way of doing it, and it doesn't necessarily fit with their all Earth model. Adjustments have to be made. as we're seeing now with mapping and all sorts of stuff, the adjustments they make. And I think it's that mapping adjustments to make it conform to a sphere that these things like the sun tracking are some of the telltale signs of the disconnect.
Well, we have Maximum Flatius out there in chat. This is to you, Brian, and everyone else on the panel. Tidal predictions are incredibly accurate. The direct opposite of what we were talking about before. Or is he?
It's funny. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he might just be, being facetious or something. I don't know. I'm just reading what he wrote.
Well, often the time if someone is, I don't know if he or she is in opposition, but often the time if someone is in opposition to us, what will happen is you'll state a point, and even you could even show evidence, and they will come back with a complete contradictory claim. Like if that's serious, then the person is saying, "Oh, the tides are totally accurate. Everything's totally accurate." Yet I just gave a real world example when they weren't. I'd have no reason to do that. I have no reason to say that they're not accurate just because I'm not a glober. That doesn't mean I'm going to say the tides are not, the tide that Google gives me is not accurate. But the tide that Google, go on. Yeah.
Just testimony, Brian, a personal testimony. You didn't do a presentation on why the tides aren't accurate. You've just said, and I know you do go swimming, because you talk about, I'm off swimming now. And you're like, where? In the lagoon. You know what I mean? So that's all that was. It doesn't need defending. You know what I mean? That's.
Sometimes people feel they need to defend things when it isn't even necessary. I'm just pointing out something in reality that I experienced, and that's it. And I can't. I don't know your reality. I don't know Quant QE's reality. I don't know how perfect the tides would be for ye, but I just know for me, Google gives me times that aren't correct.
Right, 55 watching, right? And I want to go out on a high, so I need another super chat before I go.
Nathan was getting ready to say something. Go ahead, Nathan.
No, there was just a long pause, and I said, "All righty then."
Oh,
he keeps doing it, Nathan. I've purposely not been interrupted. When the QE lets it go, I've thought I'm not going to cause the break.
It's hard, isn't it? I like it because I know what's going on, and I don't know exactly what's going on in your fruitcake minds, but I can feel the tension building, and I have to admit, I kind of like it.
Ordinarily, I wouldn't be bothered. It's only from my new production role that I'm feeling a need to interject.
I'm a little twisted that way because I can just feel it. It's just tense. It's tense. I got it. I'll just let it budge a little bit longer.
Do you want to hear a pathetic rebuttal to something that was shown as a presentation?
Yeah, good.
Just to fill in a bit of time. The presentation I did, or the video I did the other day, showing the time zones and how across Australia there's only a 2-hour span difference. There's a 2-hour difference between Sydney and Perth, let's just say, right? Across the same latitude in the north, across the United States, at basically almost exactly the same distance across, there is a 3-hour difference. Now, what they did is they tried to add in, let's just say it's 10 o'clock in Sydney, then that means it's 8 o'clock in Perth. Now, what these people did, not the ballers I'm dealing with, but what the bigger ballers, let's just say, did, is they tried to add in a time zone that wasn't there. So they added in a time zone where if it's 10 o'clock in Sydney, the next time zone is 9:30, and the next one is 8 o'clock. It's like, come on, lads. That's some other nonsense.
Come on, lads.
Yeah, I mean, come on, yeah. Well, yeah, it's such ridiculous. It's obviously you're obviously trying to wedge in a time zone that's not there. You know, a time is 10 o'clock to 9. That's one time zone. 9 to 8. That's two time zones. That's it. That's where they come from. That's what they're based off of. They're based off of the longitude lines that are based off of the 24-hour day that the sun gives us. That's what it's all based. It all comes from the sun.
Sure.
So they try to the ballers try to bring up this 9:30 time zone thing, right? And it's like, no, there's two time zones in Australia. That is that, right? At that latitude, there's two time zones. At the same latitude in the United States, there is three, right, between South Carolina and Southern California. And so they thought by bringing up this 9:30 thing would change something. It's still 2 hours difference between Sydney and Perth, and it's still 3 hours difference between South Carolina and Southern California. There's still an hour that she can't account for. Like, I mean, there's no point in telling me about a 9:30 time zone or an 8:45 time zone. Nobody cares. 10 o'clock in Sydney is 8 o'clock in Perth. 10 o'clock in South Carolina is 7 o'clock in Southern California. That's the problem. There's no point telling me about 9:30.
Are you saying they're on the same?
This is a.
Oh, go ahead, Adam.
This is a really good longitudinal proof. I forgot his name. It's Rafik. Is that right, Brian? Please say yes, or I'll say Jean-Michel Jarre.
Stop mumbling, Adam.
R-E-C-I-F-E.
Receive, right. So what he's showing here is with the time zones. If you just think of a Gleason's map and how they claim Australia's too big and therefore it can't be a ball, what he's demonstrating in terms of time zones is that what it can't be is two hemispheres. Because we take the United States, was it 33rd North parallel, and the width of Australia is an equivalent in the southern parallel. So commensurate time zones based on longitudinal lines should equivocate to the same number of time zones. Even though the United States is equivalently wide as Australia, at the same degrees south and north and equivalence there, on a ball that should give you the same number of time zones. But for some reason, we've got 3 for the United States and only 2 for Australia. And that, we know the widths are correct. The only way that that would be plausible isn't with diverging to the equator and then converging as on a ball. It would be with just diverging, so that each time zone eventually stretches out to a larger area of land for that hour, i.e. more degrees. So, and that's what we see in real world, and that's what Australians work by, those 2 time zones. Americans work by their 3.
Can I butt in and make an observation?
By all means.
So I live in Vancouver, Canada, British Columbia, and I was just doing a live stream last night playing basketball with some buddies. And my buddy lives in California, I think Santa Barbara, and I still had light out. It was like 9:30 at night, and where he was, it was just completely dark. So I don't know. That could be a 30-minute time zone thing. I don't know. Anyways, go on.
Well, every minute of degree means technically a different time zone, because as Brian's saying, it's the passage of the sun that creates midday. When it's zenith, that's your midday. No one else has actually got that same midday, have they, technically? We do work with longitudinal lines to create time divisions. Now, these should run correctly as the lines of longitude. what Brian's saying is, look, when you run it down from the equator, suddenly this line, you stick a 2.5 one in, pretend that it's equivalent to the north. You don't do that anywhere else. Time's relative, isn't it, in terms of if we realise we're measuring it from the sun. But it's this relative path of the sun, and it's differential. At either equinox, it doesn't matter. The differential in the relative path of the sun is what's demonstrating we've not got two hemispheres.
Yeah, because even if we take what I did within the video was I showed with the Gleason's map that the longitude lines totally match the 32, 33 degree parallel across the United States. They show that the United States is intersected at that parallel. There is a longitude line at the east coast, a longitude line at the west coast, and it's intersected by two longitude lines between them. That's 3 sections of longitude. Let's just say 3 time zones. And it is 3 hours from a 3-hour difference from South Carolina to Southern California. I show the same thing with Australia, how when you unstretch Australia to the size it should be, because if you take the size that the US is shown on the Gleason's map, and you put that over where Australia is, then Australia is only intersected by 1 time zone, and in reality, 10 o'clock on the east coast is 8 o'clock on the west coast. Now we know they're both similar, almost the same in width. So there's no way, like I could have used Newcastle instead of Sydney, and I would have actually made it even more precise, the exact width of the two. So there's no way out. There's only one way. The only explanation possible for this to be real, and it is real, is that the Earth is a flat plane. There is no other way. It can't be a globe because of this. It shows it's not possible. Just another thing that shows it's just not. It is a black swan, I suppose, if you want to see it that way. Although it's not technically a black swan. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is because if you're going by the analogy, because if they're saying that that at this latitude, north and south, there's going to be this many time zones, then that's disproven by the fact that there isn't. Maybe. I don't know if you could call it a black swan, but it definitely is a complete debunk of heliocentrism. And I within a day, like, I mean, I only have 1.2 thousand subscribers. I don't have that many subscribers. You know, being a flat earther and all that, you don't get them. But like within a day, less than a day, I had 500 and 600 views on that video. So it'd be equivalent. Yeah, it'd be equivalent to Nathan getting nearly 20,000 views within 24 hours of a video. So that'd be quite a lot, you know.
So what would the effect of, you know, a little chubbier in the South, what would that do?
Well, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't change anything, because what's being talked about there is actually the equator. Like when Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about that, he should have been saying the equator, because that's the oblate spheroid thing. But that is only based. If we look at their claim of the oblate spheroid, that's purely down to them having to address centrifugal force, because they are claiming that we're rotating on a ball. So the equator is going to be wider by diameter than the poles, let's just say.
That's just a oblate spheroid. Tyson, remember, always comes, it's pear-shaped, a little chubbier at the bottom, as well as the oblateness in terms of this formation of the sphere. It also claims there's more substance to the bottom, and that's kind of what Rafik is saying with his map analysis. You've got the use of declination and a perversion of simple for that. Each minute, second, etc. is a variation at different latitudes. The longitudinal minute will vary. It enables them to hide certain small perversions that over the large landmass, especially when you get to the sea, you can hide these perversions. So in the north, they're making things. They have to make things a bit bigger. In terms of the known land masses, maybe to hide something in the center, but underneath, in the southern hemisphere, when they create it, they have to shrink everything to make it fit on the ball. And this is what he's demonstrating. Not only just with that bit, but then reposition as well, so it fits on a ball, and that's the use of magnetic declination, as particularly help reposition. Or to ensure when you're navigating, you follow this strange route that gives the impression that you're traveling on a ball. That's the point of it. Yeah, go on, Brian.
What I would say about all that is maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson is saying it's a bit chubbier at the bottom because he's kind of referencing the fact that the south of the equator things get bigger. It could be a bit of that. What is
weren't there in it? Yeah. The reason they say these things is because they have to. They know there's apologetics to be made. So it's a bit chubbier at the bottom. Well, like I say, it's always the reverse, isn't it? Because actually, what they've done to it is make it a lot less chubbier at the bottom. Yeah.
Well, what I would say, what I would say in opposition to anything they say, like anything that anyone says concerning changes in sizes to their hemispheres, there's one thing. See, a lot of these things are things they had to do to make certain claims, or to address centrifugal force and different things like that, or the fact that south of the equator there's a lot more area than north of the equator. But in the end of the day, their radius comes from taking two longitude lines, which are a measured distance, and making the two corresponding longitude lines and making the ends of them meet, so they make a circle out of those two longitude lines. And that circle, then the radius of that circle, that will be in nautical miles. If you're going to do the maths, you then convert that to statute miles, and that gives you the 3959 radius. So they can only mess around so much because their geometry, the 3959 radius, is their radius. That is their geometry, and that means that they can't change from that, and they can't make claims about oblate spheroids or chubbier at the bottom because they must adhere to the latitude and longitude grid. You can't, and I've heard of claims about latitudes change a bit when you get close to the equator. No, they're rubbish. No, they don't. Right? This is a claim they must make within their paradigm. But the latitude and longitude grid would not fit around the oblate spheroid or the chubbier at the bottom pair that they're trying to claim. The grid won't fit on that. The radius won't be derived from anything but a perfect sphere that is confined exactly by the latitude and longitude grid. That's the only geometry they have. And any claims of anything else are sidebar claims. And if you try and place the latitude and longitude grid onto their oblate spheroid or their chubbier at the bottom, they won't fit. Well, it'd be like a jumper. You know, you put on a jumper and it won't go down past your waist. You know what I mean? It's like, because you put on weight, it won't go down past your waist. You know, it's like that. So that's the latitude and longitude grid. You can't have that belly, you can't have that beer belly because it has to get that jumper to fit. So if you have a beer belly, it doesn't matter that because you're taking up area in the different directions, then that jumper won't go down past your belly button. So you have a small jumper on you. That's how I feel.
That's what I was getting to. That's what I was trying to get to with the longitude lines with the chubbier in the south. That's where I was heading. Follow? It's not going to fit.
Yeah, because it can't work. That can't work. It can never work. It has to be a perfect sphere and the sphere is derived from and is confined to the exact mile, the latitude and longitude grid.
Yep.
Anything other than that, and it's over.
This was another point, right? In terms of this circle of the path of the sun, the equator. he was kind of raising the point, and I think he kind of intimated he doesn't believe. And he's the first modern person I've heard say this. So in lots of reading, there's old maps. The path of the sun is not a circle; it's an ellipse. And I think he alludes to that as well, Rafik. So that would be interesting because we base these longitude latitude lines on a circular thing, which would give them equal distribution at all points, but that's not necessarily the same. So if you're trying to use some of the obscure issues you have with sunrise and sunset and directionality with Australia, if you've suddenly got this non-circular path of the sun, and ellipses, see, they reverse everything. So we go around the sun, don't we? We don't go around the sun in a circle, do we? We go around in an ellipse, and they use that method. Yeah. So if you reverse it back, and like I say, in history, it's something that's mentioned and demonstrated on maps. I wonder if that would help, and it also is part of the distortion, because if you portray the path of the sun as a circle when it's not a circle, bend everything to conform from a geometric grid location point of view, your reference point is that circle of the sun, and it will distort the map as well, based on that. So I think he's the first person I've heard in modern stuff describe and go with credibility, because he's out there tracking it and navigating with it, yeah, and talks about the differences. He's the first one I think I've heard modern wise describe it as maybe it's not a circle, because then it's not just going around the edge of a ball, which is why it has to be a circle. I'm done rambling.
Yeah, no, it's grand. I remember going through when I did that presentation on Ranty's. It was the second show Ranty had. I think it was 2017. I did a presentation on the analema, and I was pointing out that they had to reverse back engineer everything to create what is now called the solar analema. So all those observations, all the data, let's just say, for the path of the sun was already known, and it was gotten by Kepler via other people, mainly Brahe. And what I don't think I said it. I don't think I said it in the. Don't know if I said it now in the presentation, but I do remember talking about how they had to back engineer everything, and I gave reasons within the presentation for every part of his analema, and in reality why he had to back engineer it this way and claim the tilt and all these other things, and it was all to try and make reality fit their model, right? The solar system model that Copernicus come up with. So that's why we have elliptical orbits and all that. It's only because the sun very likely does take an elliptical path above us. Now, I don't know what the sun does. I don't even know if there's more than one sun. I don't know. All I know is that the latitude and longitude grid is more and more and more proven to be 100% correct. And when it's laid out flat, that everything seems to just fit that from a terrestrial point of view. If you understand what I mean. Like, I can't make a claim about what the sun is doing over Australia or when it's shining on America. I don't know. I just know the time zones are working that way. And that's what the longitude lines are based on. You know, so.
On that, Brian, right, just a bit from chat, and I think this might explain the point, because there's a point from Maximus Flatius. Nice, cool name. Right now, it's officially 6:04 in Sydney, 5:34 in Adelaide, and 4:04 in Perth. 3 time zones.
You know, see, this is the thing. I've gotten that comment. Sorry. Go on, Adam.
I was just going to makes the point time zones are political, and then the final point that's just come up now, and maybe I'll respond because we should be catching up now. There are only 3 official time zones: Western Australia, South Australia, and the Eastern Coast daylight savings change times temporarily in summertime. That's another odd thing, that they have mixed time zones. But maybe you can just address that. So he's saying in Sydney it's 6, in Adelaide and 4:04 in... Right, okay. So I think he's making your point for you, actually. So I'll read it again correctly. It's officially 6:04 in Sydney, right? And then if you was to travel halfway across the United States, it's 5:34 in Adelaide, and the other half of the United States is 4:04 in Perth. Does that, do you understand that to address, Bry?
Yeah, well, no, I see what he's doing is he's bringing up the same argument that I've had given to me for days now since I brought out the last 2 videos.
No, he says, he finishes with this 3 time zones. There isn't. That's what Brian's point is.
Yeah, that's the point. That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah. Look at them. I don't know what 5:34 is.
Yeah, that's not time zone.
That's half an hour outside, so we're somewhere mid traversing. If we just stick at 6 and 4, that's 2 hours. We traverse the states, we've got 3 time zones.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about that. Talking about daylight savings times, UTC time, GMT time, all these things don't mean anything. The sun determines our time. That's our time, natural timepiece. That's where all time comes from. And the 10 o'clock in Sydney, well, no matter what time it is in Sydney, it's always 2 hours earlier in Perth. Always. Now, for those who don't know, I used to live in Australia. I have family and friends all across Australia, and I'll probably live there again. So I'm not someone who's never even been to Australia and just believe in stuff. I've literally experienced Australia. Now, in the US, at the same latitude, there is always, from Charleston, South Carolina to Long Beach, California, there was always a 3-hour difference. So there's always a 2-hour difference between Sydney and Perth, or Newcastle and Perth, whichever one you want to pick. And there's always a 3-hour difference between Charleston and Long Beach. Right? No matter what you do, no matter what politics messes around with things in between that, I don't care if they add in 50 time zones. I don't care if China says they have only 1 time zone when they obviously have 3 or 4 time zones. I don't care what they do. I don't care about what communism says. I don't care about Greenwich Mean Time. None of that means anything, because no matter what you do, no matter how you twist and turn it, Perth, the west coast of Australia, is always 2 hours behind the east coast. We're at the 32, 33 degree latitude. Whereas in the United States, at that same latitudes, right, the west coast is always 3 hours behind the east coast. That's the problem. There is no point in trying to... What they try and do is they try and complicate things and add things in and mess around and try and fool people because they don't want to just accept there's no way out of it. It's very simple. Sorry, I'm gone.
I'm just looking at chat, so I kind of want to respond to them because these are the questions. 2 things. LVA poll. The government says it's 9/12 on England, but it's actually 20. Yes, it's actually 2012. That's correct, and that's the kind of point that's a point of confusion, which really stops you in of yourself noticing the behaviour of the skies. But it's not the point that Brian's leading to here. The guy, where are we? Derek Nelson, just above it, and this I think leads to the. Sorry about that. This leads to the point. I'm in the middle of the US in Minnesota. The east is 1 hour ahead of me, and the west is 2 hours behind me, despite them being relatively the same distance. So there's the point of political time zones or practicality of staying in line with people you trade with. But it's the same here in Europe. Me and Arwin are an hour apart sometimes, yeah? More. That distance between me in England and Arwin in Holland is very, very small. Yeah? And the same in North America. It's small enough over the north bit, that very small distances can give you a number of three time zones. If
When
the
I'm watching,
Earth is, let me finish. If the Earth is a ball, okay, and we've got the same convergence and divergence of longitudinal lines, and that same distance in the southern hemisphere should be replicated from North America, those time zones, into Australia. They aren't. The extremities are only 2 hours apart based on the path of the sun, which is exactly what they're based on in America, in North America, yeah? But so can you see that those time zones can only mean, because we're not disqualifying the distances are the same. So with the path of the sun dictates only 2 time zones at this point. So that's the disconnect with regards to 2 hemispheres at the same latitude. Yeah, it can't be constructed on a ball unless there's something really perverse in terms of what they've done with Australia, which simple thing is, if they've put it on a ball, is the perverse thing. But it's these time zones that demonstrate that 2 equivalent positions hemispherically don't equate to the same passage of the sun.
Yep.
In terms of distance.
Yep. Very good point. How did you guys get on this point, by the way?
There's a guy out there, the French sailor that Taboo Conspiracy kindly translates. So I think he's working with him as well to translate.
Very good. Very well. Okay.
There's a lot more to come. Like I say, he's demonstrating how they're stretching in and perverting the maps, even on the GPS he used. He's done some great, really good stuff, and it's making sense. But the other good point he made, Brian, I don't know if he was saying that the Gleason's map is clearly sorry, Rayleigh Criterion, I've just seen your icon, is clearly a ball projection. I've never liked it as a map. It's always been a graph to me, but for the tracking of the sun. But what he's saying from his perspective as a navigator is, it is a ball projection. This still, it's an unfolding of the ball, which is probably why it has some of the disconnect that Brian highlights in his 2 or 3 days ago, Brian, that video you mentioned with regards to longitude and the misalignment for Australia. That makes sense and all.
Well, can I ask a question now?
Go on, sorry, go on, Neil. I'll say it in a second. Go on.
I just want you're not arguing about the time zones, right? You're just arguing that there can't be as many as they say. Because when I'm watching a football game in California, it's light over there if it's a 4 o'clock game. And I'm in New York and it's dark. So there is a 3-hour difference, correct?
Well,
That's
there'll
not
actually
what
be
you're saying, right?
if you were to go across, Neil, to northern Washington or Portland, somewhere that kind of direction, there'd be probably a 4-hour difference there, because there's 4 time zones, I think, in the US. But across the well, I know that across the 32nd, 33rd degree parallel, there is 3. There is 3. There's a 3-hour difference. That's 3 time zones. So I know that. But there's 4, I think. I think when you add in, because I think the US goes southeast a bit more.
We do.
Yeah.
We
So
do.
there's
We got
4.
Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. But it's a 3-hour difference from Eastern to Pacific.
Yeah.
Correct. New York to California.
Sit in that. Just out of interest, what's mountain then?
So
is that a half-hour thing or?
No, it's an hour. So Eastern time, it would be 5 p.m. Central time, 6 p.m. Mountain time, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. You could do that.
Yeah. There's not like you see what happens in Australia. To go across the equivalent landmass, you've got 5 p.m., 5:30. Sorry, 5. Yeah, no. But this is the weird thing, that middle thing, isn't it? It's just 2 hours.
Yeah, but they added
6
that in.
till 7, and that's all you've got. But they designate it strangely as a half thing. It's very odd. I say what you've got is all of this is constructed to give the ball, to put it onto a ball. So then they back work it, and this is, I think, part of the use of magnetic declination as well. It's this guy, honestly, John, you'll have to watch him. He's really quite intriguing what he's revealing. He's not making any wild claims. He's just demonstrating real world things and ball distances.
Why don't you send me that video? I'll take a look at it if you send it to me.
2 minutes, and I'll pop it in the chat so that everybody can.
Oh, so everyone could get it out on YouTube. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I was working on a thing I made a video called longitudinal reassignment months and months ago, and that's what I was working on. My point was that what needs to change is the size of Australia needs to be changed, and the assignment of longitude needs to be changed. I was talking about, to make Gleason's map a somewhat flat out map, then you would have to start with somewhere like Australia and change its size to the size it should be, not the stretch size it is. And then it was pointed out within, because that was before I listened to this man Racif, but when I listened to him, he pointed out something I'd forgotten about, that there was only 2 time zones in Australia. I know there's that other stupid half-hour thing, but that's nonsense. That's just something they added in. There is only 2 hours between Sydney and Perth. And that's when I went, yeah, there's only 2 hours. So exactly what I was saying, basically, wouldn't even need to be done, because it's just reality anyway. If you understand what I mean.
Oh yeah, because it's the total over the width. It's a total. It doesn't matter what they do.
Yeah, exactly. What I was pointing out in the thing, Adam, the second point Adam said that I made in my video, was the recent video, was that the Gleason's map has globe distortions underneath an absolutely perfect latitude and longitude grid. So the latitude and longitude grid is as it's meant to be, flat, exactly as like an azimuthal, an equidistant azimuthal, let's just say latitude and longitude grid. That's the way it's meant to be. That's the way it works. That's where it was measured, derived, everything. But what they do is they put globe distortions underneath that to give people the impression that latitude and longitude grid, the way it's laid out there, is not correct. But what it actually shows is how incorrect the globe is.
Right. Yep.
Because of the distortions.
Yeah, that's very, very good, Brian. Very good. I should have watched that video of yours. I didn't. That's really cool. Good catch by you guys.
Thank you. There's not much to watch. You would have no reason to watch it now, because you know exactly what the argument is. So
I've spammed that video.
Let me pin it.
There's a second point. Yeah, have a little look at it. If everybody can see just the icon in of itself, which is to do with the international dateline. And you ever wondered why it's got that lock and key strange thing happening in the mid-Pacific? Kind of goes into that. Because this is the way they do the stitching together. Because you can do small distortions, like I say, expansion of... I'm going to use the ball terms because this is what they're doing to get it on a ball. So excuse the vernacular. They expand the northern hemisphere a little bit. It will fit on the ball where they want it to do. I said, think about that. That makes a bigger space in the middle, I think. On the bottom, they're shrinking everything so that it's equivalent hemispherical. But they're also doing this based on the path of the sun, because things, people aren't that stupid. Things have got to match roughly. And you'll see where the stitching occurs. It's down the international dateline. And most of it occurs out in the middle, like I say, of the Pacific, except until you get to the Bering Straits in Alaska. And then you've got this strange situation where it's an island that's like 50 kilometers apart or something from the next island. On the Russian side, it's 21 hours away. There's this 3-hour time gap. So that when you put this map and the time zones together on their sphere, it apparently works. When you zoom in there, you see that there is this disconnect.
It throws up.
Time zones are based on the path of the sun. The way they've stitched it together in the places that don't matter and where it can't be tested is where the model fails. Is what this guy.
So it vomits. It vomits right there. Because it got to vomit somewhere, but this time it vomits there in the Bering Sea. Is that what you said?
Big time in the Bering Sea, because there is this obvious time zone for two land masses.
Uh-huh.
If you look at the international date line as it goes down the ball, I would say it goes down and then it zigzags out like a key shape when it hits near the equator, and then back in and then comes back around. It's the most perverse thing, because that international, remember what that line is. It's the same as every other longitudinal line that is the path of the sun. Yeah, to stitch the ball together, that is the international date line. That's midday at those different places. Remember that. Think of that time zone just as midday, and you can excuse 1 hour, can't you?
Right.
In this longitudinal line and say, well, 2,000 miles that way, we're still just in the same time zone. Yes, so I can excuse why it's not directly above my head. If you look into the mid-Pacific, you're thousands of miles in this zigzaggy, weird thing.
Because it has to throw up somewhere, so they throw it up right there. You know what would be a good idea is for you and Brian to get heavy in this and then present this on next Ballbusters. That would be really cool.
I agree.
I don't think we're there yet. The things I've just kind of outlined in his video, the international date line's an obvious thing. What he's demonstrating is through his navigational skills and measurement through nautical miles. I'm still learning.
Okay, but the next Ballbusters isn't for 2 weeks, so not this Saturday, but the Saturday after.
And me and Brian will crack on, won't we, sir?
Yes.
I would like it. I like this topic. I must not have been mentally engaged when Brian went over this, and I didn't watch his video, but since you guys been talking about this today, this is very interesting. I got a weathered eyebrow raised. I like it, and I think a lot of people would. I'm just saying.
You know what, Kiwi? I remember people talking about time zones way back in 2015, 2016. Just like people mentioned the horizon.
Right.
But because it's such a simple thing, and at the time people were so busy arguing about all the minutiae with NASA and all the nonsense.
Yes.
That all things like this got lost.
Yes.
In the wayside, and now it's starting to come back.
Correct.
I've got to butt in, guys. I've got to butt in. I'm hot again. You can round the show out after this because I've just smashed it tonight. I really have. James Richard. And I've smashed it thanks to you, dude. $5 super chat. You guys should research how many times the international date line has been changed. Exactly, James. Another great point. Shouldn't be, should it? As we said, I call it the stitching up. I like that, John. It's where they puke it up. It's probably
it has to be puked up somewhere, right? It's not going to be an even cut. So there has to be a serious aberration somewhere. I think you guys found it, right? It's up in the Bering Sea. Correct?
Skeptic 9. Yeah. Well, that's the biggest anomaly. We'll come to that.
Okay.
Skeptic 936, $2 super chat. Great show. Legend.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Hey, he's out of work, mate. I've just coined it in tonight.
Yeah, but I remember when they used to say time zones prove a globe. Oh.
Yeah, let's turn this on its head.
Yes.
I love that. Right? Because they do say that, Neil, you're right. Yeah. Let's do this without me. You guys do the work. I just want to sit back and enjoy it. Is that fair?
It's easy to attack the globe at this point, I think. I think we could do that. We could certainly construct a bit like we've done tonight, but probably a bit better quality.
Yes. Lots of
making sense
visuals.
of it
We
isn't
need
the
to see
thing.
maps and latitude and longitude lines. We need to see distances. Stop.
Oh, Brian will give you the visual.
if it was just the matter of they've tweaked the international date line, stitch a ball together from an azimuthal projection of reality, then we'd have solved it years ago.
Right.
I say there's layers, this magnetic declination, this stretching of the maps in particular places.
Yes.
And again, Taboo will do that. Now that I don't understand that to be able to can show the distinctions, the distortions, and show how it mismatches reality, so you can attack the globe. But to explain that and then put that back into some sort of a sense, no chance yet.
You don't think you'll be able to do that? You and Brian, you can't
say that.
I think you and Brian could get to. How many videos does that guy have on Taboo Conspiracies channel? Just one?
Not many. I think contact should be made. This guy's, like I say, he's bringing a really specific skill set. He's a guy that used to sail, these yachts across the southern oceans. Some of his testimony, he's saying like, I've observed sunrise and sunset, in both hemispheres, and there's a difference. There's a difference at the same equinoxes. In the south, sunrise and sunset happens quickly, yeah. Whereas in the north, it isn't the same, irrespective of your respective latitudes. He's got lots of knowledge, practical knowledge, and it's his real life observations that's brought him to question this and then realize it's flat.
Oh, so he is a flat earther.
Oh yeah. He's
okay. Now, number 2, can he speak English?
As good as Brian.
That's there.
That's perfect. Can somebody get in contact with him? I'd like to bring him on BALLBUSTERS.
We'll have to get in touch with Taboo.
Can you guys make that happen?
Yeah, I'll ask this week. I'll
please have some semblance of I find this very interesting for some reason. Because I don't got my head wrapped around it. I got the big points, right? But I'd really like to hear some, really down to earth cowbell is what I would like, and that would be Wagyu cowbell.
Well, if you want to see a visual, I have it in my concerning Australia. In my video, I made in my last video, I have it there. I show that I made in GeoGebra. I made all the latitude lines, all the rings of latitude, spaced out as they should be on a flat grid. And I just added 2 portions of longitude, and I put in the exact. I used the latitude, the 33rd, I think it was, degree latitude, the width of Australia across that, and I show the size of Australia in between, the actual size of Australia in between those latitude lines.
Sweet.
So I give you some kind of a visual.
Yeah, and do you have the United States in there too, so we could see some type of compare and contrast?
No, but I will do that. That's what I will add to the. I just wanted that just for purely because I could show the United States with the Gleason's map because it's the north. So the Gleason's map shows at that latitude the correct longitude lines,
right?
Intersecting the United States. So I just needed that to show the difference.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
Yeah, that sounds good. If we can't get them, guys, as long as you have that, and I need that bearing straight, man, and through the Pacific, I need that international date line.
Well,
I need it now.
I know. You can have to wait. for the next Ballbusters. So that I think is probably easy enough to do now. If we focused on the Bering Strait, that strange international date line.
Yes.
Sure, me and Brian could just present the anomaly that.
Please. So both. So Australia, compared with the United States, and the international dateline fiasco. If you guys could do those two in lieu of, is that guy French that we're talking about?
Yeah, he's a Frenchman. Yeah, Recife. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in lieu of having him come on, that would be just a peach. Good? Yes?
Yeah.
If we do a good enough job, that might convince him to come on.
Yes, that's a good idea. See, these guys are thinking. Yes. Yes, so now remember, no Ballbusters this Saturday. I got archery competition. It's the Saturday. It's next Saturday after that. So got plenty of time. Don't procrastinate. Hey, Adam. Yeah, thanks a lot, Brian. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Adam, guess what I'm going to ask you?
What does the word procrastinate mean?
No. Take us home, sir.
My granddad used to say that to me. Stop procrastinating.
Take us home, sir. Take us home, sir.
Oh, we got to go home.
Yeah, we're going to go.
Want me to do it?
Nathan's just come back. You don't want to go home now.
I'm doing it if you want me to send us home.
Take us home, sir.
With that, a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to all of you joining us in the Quantum Eraser live stream with Adam echoing in my ear. Also, a massive thank you to all of the Ballbusters panel and live members of the public that joined us for this discussion. Obviously, a massive thank you to Brian, who came up with the idea 2 weeks earlier. With that, we'll see you in the next Ballbusters.